Masculinity is not about how many steps you run after someone or how many times you prove yourself through desperate actions. Masculinity energy is never found in pursuit. It is found in presence. A man who understands his true masculine nature recognizes that the more he chases, the more he leaks power. When you chase, you are essentially announcing to the world that what you desire is outside of you, that you are incomplete without it, that you need someone or something to validate you before you can feel whole. And when that vibration leaves your body, people feel it. They sense desperation. They sense lack. They sense insecurity. This is why so many men who chase approval, attention, or affection end up empty-handed, because the very act of chasing signals that they don't yet believe they are enough. A masculine man understands that his energy is his greatest asset. He doesn't need to go running after anyone to prove his worth. Instead, he knows that when he stands firmly in who he is, when he aligns his actions with his vision, and when he carries himself with quiet certainty, people naturally gravitate toward him. Presence is magnetic, and true masculinity is presence. When you walk into a room with calm confidence, when your body language speaks assurance, when your eyes show clarity, you do not have to say much because people already feel it. Masculine men don't waste their essence in the pursuit of being noticed. They understand that their value lies in their ability to hold space, to embody purpose, and to project certainty. Think about this. The sun doesn't chase the planets, yet everything revolves around it. The river doesn't chase the fish, but life thrives within it. Masculine energy is the same. It does not rush after. It attracts by being. And this attraction is not shallow. It is not built on clever lines or empty gestures. It is built on an unshackled inner alignment that says, I know who I am. I know where I am going, and I don't need anyone to complete me. This awareness is what makes a man magnetic. He doesn't have to shout about his worth. He simply embodies it. The danger in chasing is that it immediately places you in a position of lack. When you chase, you say to yourself and to the world, I am not enough until I have this. That belief robs you of your power. Masculine men know that their power in external outcomes, but in internal mastery. Instead of scattering their energy outward, they direct it inward, investing in their growth, sharpening their mind, strengthening their body, and deepening their vision. The paradox is that when you stop chasing and start embodying the very things you thought you needed to run after begin to find their way towards you. Masculine men don't chase validation from others because they are already rooted in self-validation. They know their value without applause. They know their worth without confirmation, and they know their path without approval. This inner knowing gives them a presence that cannot be ignored. They are not easily shaken by rejection, because rejection does not define them. They are not desperate for attention, because attention is not their currency. They are fueled by vision, by purpose, by growth. And when you meet a man like that, you feel it, you sense the calm certainty in the way he carries himself, and it draws you in without him ever needing to pursue. This is why masculinity is not about chasing. It is about being. When a man knows who he is, he doesn't need to run after anyone or anything. He allows life to flow toward him because his energy is aligned. And aligned energy is irresistible. It doesn't matter if it's relationships, opportunities, or respect. When you embody presence, they all come as a natural consequence. The tragedy is that too many men never learn this. They exhaust themselves running after approval, only to realize that the chase was a signal of insecurity all along. Masculine men bypass this trap because they understand that their essence is their leverage. They don't spend energy chasing, they spend energy becoming. Masculine energy is grounded, centered, and powerful. It doesn't run, it doesn't beg, it doesn't plead. It simply stands firm and allows the world to respond. Think about the strongest men throughout history, the ones remembered and admired. They were not defined by how desperately they pursued validation, but by the certainty they carried within themselves. Their masculine essence was not loud or frantic. It was calm, steady, and unshakable. That is the power of energy over pursuit. When you as a man learn to harness this truth, you stop needing to chase. You realize that the more you lean into who you are meant to be, the less you need to run after anything outside of you. People sense it. They are drawn to it. They want to be near it, not because of what you say, but because of what you emanate. Masculine men radiate presence, and presence has always been stronger than pursuit. When a man chooses to step back, when he chooses to disappear, many misunderstand his actions. They assume he is retreating, that he is running away, that he is giving up. But in truth, disappearing is not weakness. It is one of the highest forms of power. It is not escape. It is refinement. Masculine men disappear not because they fear confrontation or because they lack courage, but because they understand the immense value of their energy and they refuse to waste it in spaces where it is not honored. To disappear is to reclaim. To disappear is to gather yourself, to redirect your focus, to protect your energy from being drained by environments, people, or habits that do not serve your highest purpose. Disappearing has always been the practice of men who rise. The warrior withdraws to sharpen his sword. The leader steps back to gain perspective before making a decision. The visionary removes himself from the noise of the crowd so he can hear the quiet whisper of his inner guidance. Disappearing is not avoidance. It is intentional isolation for growth, clarity, and elevation. Masculine men know that they cannot give their energy away endlessly and expect to remain strong. They know their power diminishes when it is poured into people who do not appreciate it or into battles that do not deserve it. So instead of chasing, they disappear into themselves, into their craft, into their purpose. When a man disappears, he is not punishing anyone. He is protecting his essence. He understands that his presence is valuable, and therefore he chooses carefully where and when to offer it. By disappearing, he communicates a message without speaking a word. I will not waste my time where I am not valued. I will not drain myself trying to prove what I already know to be true. I will not compromise my energy to keep what is not meant for me. That silence, that withdrawal speaks louder than desperate words ever could. It reveals strength, not weakness. It reveals self-respect, not fear. There is a deep discipline in disappearing. It requires the strength to walk away when every part of you wants to stay and prove your worth. It requires the patience to step into solitude when the world tells you to keep running. It requires the courage to choose absence over constant presence, trusting that what is truly aligned with your path will remain and what is not will naturally fall away. Masculine men embody this discipline because they are not afraid of being alone. They understand that solitude is not emptiness. It is a sacred space where they refine their vision and recharge their spirit. The power of disappearing is that it creates clarity. When you step back, you begin to see what you could not see when you were too close. You recognize the dynamics that drain you, the patterns that trap you, the people who only take but never give. In that space of absence, truth reveals itself. And because masculine men value truth over illusion, they are willing to disappear to gain perspective. They know that constant engagement clouds the mind, while strategic withdrawal clears it. Disappearing also reaffirms a man's boundaries. It is a way of saying, my time is precious, my presence is rare, and I will not invest it carelessly. This is not arrogance, this is self-respect. Masculine men understand that value increases with scarcity. When you are always available, always accessible, always chasing, your presence loses its impact. But when you step back, when you disappear into your growth, your presence gains weight. People notice when you return because your energy has shifted, because you reappear stronger, clearer, and more aligned than before. Masculine men also understand that disappearing is not forever. It is not about vanishing into nothingness. It is about retreating with purpose. They disappear to evolve, to transform, to elevate. When they return as men who have sharpened their minds, strengthened their bodies, and deepened their purpose. And because of that, everything they touch carries a higher frequency. Disappearing allows them to give from overflow instead of depletion. A man who never disappears eventually burns out. He gives and gives and gives until there is nothing left of him. His energy scatters, his presence weakens, his clarity dissolves. But a masculine man avoids this by knowing when to step back. He knows when to pull his energy inward. He knows when to retreat so he can return with 10 times the power. That ability to manage energy, to know when to engage and when to withdraw, is a hallmark of true strength. So disappearing is not cowardice. It is not neglect. It is power under control. It is a conscious act of preservation and preparation. Masculine men don't chase because they don't need to. And when they disappear, they are not abandoning. They are elevating. They are protecting the value of their presence and ensuring that when they do show up, they show up in fullness, not in fragments. They disappear not because they are weak, but because they are wise enough to know that energy must be guarded, nurtured, and directed with precision. Masculine men understand the truth that many overlook need is weakness, but standards are power. When you operate from need, you place yourself beneath the very thing you're seeking. You are saying, I cannot feel whole until I have this, until I am chosen, until I am approved. That vibration of neediness immediately lowers your presence. It tells the world you are lacking, incomplete, and desperate. People sense it even if nothing is spoken. They sense the hunger behind your actions, and instead of being drawn to you, they feel repelled because neediness has never been attractive. It carries the energy of lack. Masculine men know this, and so they shift from need to standard. They don't beg for approval. They set boundaries for what they will and will not accept. They do not chase love, respect, or opportunities. They embody a frequency that demands it naturally. When a man has standards, he lives by principle rather than by impulse. He does not bend himself to fit into someone else's frame. Instead, he creates the frame, and those who align with it remain, while those who do not naturally drift away. Standards are not about arrogance. They are about self-respect. A man who values his time will not give it freely to those who squander it. A man who values his peace will not allow chaos to live unchecked in his world. A man who values his worth will not beg anyone to see it. He will simply live in a way that requires it to be acknowledged. Standards shape reality because they communicate to others how you expect to be treated. Masculine men understand that the world does not give you what you want. It gives you what you accept. Need is external. It reaches out, hoping to be filled. Standards are internal. They radiate out, declaring, this is who I am. This is how I live, and this is what I allow. Masculine men no longer live in a posture of waiting for validation. They already validate themselves, and from that self-validation, they build unshakable standards. That is why when you encounter a man of true presence, you feel it immediately. He is not moved by trends, not swayed by shallow approval, not desperate for fleeting attention. He has built an inner compass, and his standards flow from that compass. This shift from need to standard is not an easy one, because it requires deep inner work. Many men are conditioned to seek external validation, to measure their worth by how much attention they can gather or how quickly they can be chosen. But masculine men reverse this cycle. Instead of asking, will they want me? They ask, Do they meet the standards I have set for my life? That single shift in perspective changes everything because it places power back in their hands. It prevents them from giving away their energy recklessly. It makes them selective, deliberate, and intentional. Standards also filter out what is not aligned. When you have no standards, everything looks appealing. You try to hold on to anyone who shows you interest, and you bend yourself to keep what you fear losing. But when you live by standards, you see clearly. You know what aligns with your vision and what does not. You know what builds you and what drains you. You know who respects your energy and who exploits it. And because you know, you let go easily. You do not cling to what is not fit. You do not chase what is not aligned. You understand that by releasing what is beneath your standard, you make space for what rises to meet it. Masculine men know that standards are not about perfection. They are about alignment. They are not about controlling others, but about controlling yourself. You cannot dictate how others behave, but you can dictate what you will not accept in your life. That is the essence of power. When you say, this is my line, and you live by it consistently, the world begins to adjust around you. People begin to respect your boundaries because they see you respect them yourself. Opportunities begin to flow differently because you no longer settle for scraps. Relationships become healthier because you no longer chase to be chosen. You choose with discernment. The man who lives by standards is not easily shaken. He does not compromise his value to avoid being alone. He does not lower his bar out of fear of missing out. He does not trade his peace for temporary pleasure. Instead, he holds steady, knowing that what is truly aligned with his standards will remain and what is not will fall away. And in this steadiness lies his strength because he does not need to chase. He does not need to prove. He does not need to beg. His life becomes a reflection of his standards, and everything that surrounds him is filtered through the energy of self-respect. The truth is that a man without standards is a man without direction. He will bend to whatever pressure is applied. He will fall for whatever attention is offered. And he will give away his power in exchange for fleeting validation. But a masculine man refuses to live this way. He knows that need is weakness and standards are strength. He knows that the world responds to the energy he holds. And so he holds himself to a higher frequency. He knows that he does not need to chase approval when he has already built approval within. He knows that his life will always mirror the standards he by. And so he chooses those standards carefully because they will shape not just his relationships, but his destiny. A man's energy can either be scattered outward in pursuit of things he cannot control, or it can be directed inward where it has the power to transform him completely. Masculine men understand this choice. They know that when they chase, their focus is pulled away from their purpose and thrown onto someone else's approval, someone else's attention, someone else's recognition. And the moment your energy is scattered outward like that, you lose the very thing that makes you powerful, your focus. But when a man learns to shift his attention inward, when he disappears into his vision and devotes himself to growth, he becomes magnetic without trying. His focus on becoming makes him far more attractive than chasing ever could. Masculine men know that growth is not something you beg for. It is something you build. They don't sit around waiting to be chosen. They are too busy choosing themselves every single day. They disappear into their work. They disappear into their discipline. They disappear into the late nights where no one is watching. And they shape themselves into someone undeniable. The outside world may wonder where they went, but in truth they have not vanished. They have only redirected their energy to the one place that produces the greatest return, their own evolution. When a man is focused on becoming, he no longer wastes time chasing validation. He realizes that no external approval can fill the emptiness of a life lived without purpose. He chooses instead to pour into himself, to develop his skills, to master his craft, to deepen his knowledge, to strengthen his mind and body. Every ounce of energy that could have been wasted chasing after others is reinvested into becoming someone that cannot be ignored. Masculine men understand that when you elevate yourself, you naturally attract what is aligned with that elevation. You don't have to run after opportunities when you've built yourself into a man that opportunities run toward. This focus on becoming rather than chasing changes the way a man carries himself. You can see it in his posture. You can hear it in his voice. You can feel it in his presence. He doesn't need to announce that he is working on himself. It radiates naturally, and because energy doesn't lie. People are drawn to without him even trying. This is why men who are deeply rooted in their vision never struggle to attract attention. It comes to them because purpose has always been magnetic. Masculine men know this, so they choose to disappear into their journey of growth instead of scattering themselves thin in pursuit of shallow validation. Focusing on becoming also is a man something that chasing never can. Peace. Chasing is restless. It fills you with anxiety, with uncertainty, with desperation. You are constantly thinking about what others think of you, about whether you are enough, about whether they will accept you. But when you focus inward, when you give yourself to growth, you stop asking those questions because they no longer matter. Your worth is no longer determined by whether someone notices you. It is anchored in the progress you see within yourself. That inner peace is what gives masculine men their unshakable presence. They are not moved by rejection because their value does not rest on being chosen. They are not desperate for recognition because their recognition comes from within. They are calm, steady, and confident because they know exactly who they are becoming. This shift from chasing to becoming is what separates men who remain average from men who rise. Average men chase endlessly and wonder why they never feel fulfilled. Masculine men disappear into their vision and rise so high that the world cannot help but take notice. And the beauty of it is that they do not do it for attention. They do it because they are driven by purpose. Attention is only the byproduct. Growth is the goal. They understand that when you focus on becoming, you win twice, you build a life that fulfills you, and you naturally attract people and opportunities who recognize your value. Masculine men also understand that becoming is a lifelong process. It is not about arriving at perfection. It is about constant evolution. That's why they never fear disappearing for a while, because they know the work they do in private will eventually speak louder than anything they could chase in public. They are patient with themselves, but relentless in their pursuit of growth. They know that every hour invested into becoming a stronger, wiser, more disciplined version of themselves compounds over time. And because of this, they are never in a hurry to chase external rewards. They trust that those rewards will arrive in alignment with their growth. So when a masculine man disappears, he is not running away. He is recalibrating. He is pouring his energy into becoming someone greater, someone more aligned with his vision, someone more powerful than before. And when he reemerges, the world can feel the difference. He doesn't have to ask for recognition because his transformation demands it. He doesn't have to chase because his very being now carries the weight of presence, and presence always attracts more than pursuit ever could. There is a certain strength in silence that words can never compete with. Masculine men understand this truth deeply. They know that chasing, begging, persuading, or constantly explaining themselves does not build respect, it erodes it. The louder you try to convince someone of your worth, the more you broadcast that you are uncertain of it yourself. But silence is different. Silence says, I know who I am. I don't need to argue about it. I don't need to prove it. You will see it in how I carry myself. Masculine men let their silence do the speaking because it communicates confidence, composure, and certainty in a way that desperation never can. When a man is silent, he controls the frame. He resists the temptation to over-explain, to plead, or to justify himself to anyone who cannot see his value. His restraint becomes his strength. He shows that he is not desperate for validation, not moved by temporary emotion, not shaken by rejection or indifference. Instead, his silence demonstrates emotional mastery. It shows that he can hold his ground without trying to force outcomes. That kind of composure unsettles people because they are used to others fighting for their attention. But when a man chooses silence, when he chooses self-control over reaction, it creates a presence that is felt far more powerfully than words ever could. Masculine men understand that desperation weakens energy. The more you chase, the more you plead, the more you try to convince, the more you reveal that you are dependent on someone else's approval. That dependence strips you of power, but silence restores it. Silence shows that you are not afraid to step back, not afraid to withhold your energy, not afraid to walk away. It communicates a message without you ever needing to speak. I know my worth. I know my value. And if you don't see it, that is not my loss. This energy shifts the dynamic instantly because people respect what they cannot easily sway. There is also a discipline in silence. It is not easy to resist the urge to speak when emotions are high. It is not easy to hold back when everything inside you wants to defend yourself or to chase after someone pulling away. But masculine men have mastered that discipline. They have trained themselves to understand that silence is not weakness. It is strategy. It is the refusal to waste energy on battles that don't deserve it. It is the ability to rise above reaction and to stay grounded in composure. This discipline is what separates them from men who rule by impulse. Where others speak too quickly, masculine men know the power of holding their tongue. Where others chase recklessly, masculine men understand the weight of restraint. Silence also creates mystery. When you are always talking, always chasing, always explaining, you strip yourself of mystery. People know exactly what to expect from you, and predictability kills attraction. But when you hold silence, when you pull back, when you choose not to reveal everything, you create curiosity. You create space for others to wonder about you, to think about you, to reflect on your absence. Silence has the power to echo louder than words, because in that quiet space, people begin to notice your presence more than they did when you were constantly available. Masculine men use silence not as manipulation, but as preservation. They know that what is always available loses value, and what is scarce commands respect. More than anything, silence reveals strength of character. It shows that a man is not easily swayed, not easily provoked, not easily broken. A man who can remain calm and silent when others would demonstrate control not just over his tongue, but over his mind and emotions. That control makes people pay attention because it is rare in a world where most are reactive. Masculine men don't need to chase approval. They let their silence speak for them. They don't need to beg for attention. They let their absence create it. They don't need to drown others in words. They let their energy be felt in the quiet. This is why silence speaks louder than desperation. Desperation is noise, and noise is always easy to ignore. Silence is presence, and presence is impossible to overlook. Masculine men carry themselves with the assurance that they do not need to be heard constantly in order to be respected. They understand that their worth is self-contained. And so they do not waste energy trying to prove it. They embody the truth that silence has always been stronger than empty words, and self-control has always commanded more respect than desperation ever could. The true secret of masculine men is that when they disappear, they are not withdrawing to punish anyone, nor are they stepping back to create fear or insecurity. They disappear because they understand that growth requires space. They know that evolution cannot happen in the noise of constant pursuit, in the chaos of chasing validation, or in the distraction of trying to be everywhere for everyone. Masculine men disappear into themselves because they are committed to becoming more than they were yesterday. They recognize that the man who leaves is not the same man who returns, and that is the essence of their power. When a man disappears, he goes inward to refine his vision. He asks himself deeper questions. What am I building? What am I becoming? What am I giving my energy to? He looks at his habits, his routines, his thoughts, and he begins the process of sharpening them. This is not the kind of work that can be done in front of an audience. It is done in silence, in solitude, in the quiet hours where no one is watching. That is where the man evolves. He trains his body, strengthens his discipline, expands his mind, deepens his understanding. Every moment of disappearance is an investment in the future version of himself. Masculine men understand that evolution is not optional, it's necessary. Life is always moving, and if you are not growing, you are falling behind. To chase endlessly is to stay stuck, to repeat cycle, to never rise. But to disappear for the sake of growth is to break patterns, to level up, to become someone more powerful. When they disappear, they are not idle, they are building, refining, transforming. They are sculpting themselves into men who can handle greater responsibilities, who can attract higher quality relationships, who can create bigger opportunities. Their absence is not a void, it is a workshop of transformation. This process of evolution is what makes them magnetic, because when they return, they are not the same man who left. Their energy is different. Their presence carries more weight. Their words have more conviction. Their silence has more depth. People notice it without being told. They see it in the way he carries himself, in the way he speaks, in the way he no longer entertains what he once tolerated. Evolution shifts the entire atmosphere around a man, and masculine men know that this shift only comes through intentional growth. What makes this powerful is that masculine men are not evolving for others. They are evolving for themselves. They are not disappearing to win someone back, to prove something, or to create an effect. They disappear because they are devoted to their own journey. They know that everything else, respect, love, opportunity, flows as a natural byproduct of their growth. When you evolve, you no longer have to chase anything because your new frequency attracts it. People, situations, and experiences begin to align with the man you have become. That is why disappearing to evolve is the most strategic move a man can make. Evolution also demands sacrifice, and masculine men are willing to make it. They sacrifice comfort. They sacrifice distraction. They sacrifice the temporary pleasures of chasing after what doesn't serve them. They understand that greatness is built in the shadows, in the hours of discipline, in the choices no one sees. That sacrifice is what sets them apart. While others waste their energy running in circles, masculine men channel that same energy into building themselves layer by layer, day by day. And over time, the gap becomes undeniable. The man who chased remains stagnant, but the man who disappeared and evolved becomes unrecognizable in his strength. Another aspect of evolution is alignment. When masculine men disappear, they don't just focus on building skills or accumulating achievements. They align their inner world. They strip away what is false, what is weak, what is holding them back. They learn to control their emotions, to direct their focus, to master their impulses. Evolution is not just about what you add. It is about what you remove. And masculine men are not afraid to remove the habits, people, or environments that no longer fit who they are becoming. This pruning process is what allows them to rise, because you cannot carry old weight into a new level. The beauty of evolution is that it creates attraction without effort. When a man disappears and comes back stronger, people feel it instantly. They see the difference, they sense the growth, and they are drawn to it naturally. He doesn't have to announce that he has changed. His energy announces it for him. This is why masculine men don't chase. They don't need to. They know that disappearing into growth will make them so magnetic that what belongs to them will find them. They trust the process of evolution more than they trust the illusion of pursuit. Masculine men live by the understanding that every disappearance is an opportunity to rise higher. Each time they step back, they create space to become a new version of themselves. Each time they choose solitude over chasing, they are investing in their evolution. And when they reemerge, they are not only stronger for themselves, but they elevate everything and everyone around them. Their growth raises the standard in every environment they enter, because true evolution cannot be hidden. It radiates, it commands respect, and it attracts without a single word spoken.